All right, welcome to my show. Today I'm going to be doing a tier list with the Marvel Cinematic Universe. Captain America Brave New World's coming out. I already got my tickets. Yeah, I'm going to try to keep it brief because there's a million of these movies. And yeah, don't forget to leave a like on this video if you enjoy it. And subscribe for future videos. That'd be very much appreciated. Thank you.
The Surrealist McCoy.
All right, first up we got Iron Man. This came out in 2008. I think I was 19, something like that. Coming out of this movie, I was really hyper, kind of like on the same level as when I saw The Matrix or the original Star Wars trilogy, just where I was like just bouncing off the walls. I remember went to Sheets after seeing this movie, and a bunch of people were there, friends. I just distinctly remember that, just how hype mode I was. I'm like, man, this movie is so good. And this is kind of a big year. I mean, this same year as Dark Knight, and it started taking these comic book things a little more serious. It still does have a little bit of that 2000s, like Sam Raimi Spider-Man vibe a little bit, so it's kind of got like one foot in both worlds. But yeah, I think this is a 5 out of 5. No notes. Golden ticket. Okay, so with The Incredible Hulk, same year, 2008, we got some really good casting. Edward Norton, Liv Tyler, William Hurt is the Liv Tyler's dad, the general guy. And then, yeah, they're all really good. Tim Roth, I like as the crazy guy, like the real human guy. But then I just like when he becomes Abomination, it's just sort of like, it's just another Hulk, and it's kind of boring, I guess. But also, it's like I can't disconnect this one from the 2003 one that I like. And I was kind of, at the time when this came out, I was like, man, like, why are they rebooting it? Because I like that one. I thought like the Eric Bana guy, he had that like the anger thing, and it was very like a psychological, dark vibe to it. Not that this doesn't, but this does fit in a little more with Iron Man. Whereas I felt that 2003 one, it's like you had Nick Nolte and I thought Sam Elliott, I was really disappointed that he got replaced. I mean, William Hurt is good. It's just Sam Elliott, he's like that man. I can't even do this voice. He just kind of had that general, man, we need to kill this at its source. I don't know. But it's hard for me to disconnect it from that. So I always kind of didn't like this one as much because it replaced the one I like. Just because that one's a little more gritty and had a little more of the, I don't know, dark vibes. Especially now watching it later, But I mean, this has some good stuff though. I mean, when he's like, TNS my stretchy, he's looking for the stretchy purple pants. But yeah, it's a little bit in the mid ground though. So I'm gonna give it a matinee rating. Okay, Iron Man 2. It's got a lot of good stuff. You got Sam Rockwell as the bad guy in here, and Mickey Rourke. Well, they're kind of like, they're both the bad guys, but just their whole dynamic is pretty funny. Is Mickey Rourke's like, my bird, I need my bird, and then Sam Rockwell, I think, yeah, he's like a defense contractor guy, but he's like, yeah, we got the bird, and he's like, whatever, and like, I don't know, just almost feels like a lot of these movies that it's not that they waste people, but it's just that you'll have these like big actors and then they're just in that movie and that's it. And then it's like there's 30 movies. So you kind of forget that they were there, but all that stuff's good. You got a War Machine, Don Cheadle. He's replacing Terrence Howard. I think it's like a meta line in the movie. He's like, yeah, I'm here. Let's just move on. Let's not, whatever. But it just feels a little fillery, I guess. I'll usually watch it, but then I won't finish it or I'll just skip it, So, middle of the road kind of thing, but it's a little better middle of the road than the Hulk. And I felt like that movie came so quick, like after the first one, I was kind of like, man, I want to see Thor and Captain America. Like, I don't want to see this one. Okay, then we got the first Thor, which is crazy to think about. That Thor has 4 movies, and that might be more than any other character in the MCU. I don't know. Don't quote me on that, but I really like this one. Just all the lore and the world building. You got Anthony Hopkins playing Odin, yeah, just the Norse mythology thing, but it's like the Marvel kind of shiny comic book version of it. Loki, get the introduction of him. I think he's probably one of the better characters in general in the MCU as far as just his arc and everything like that. But yeah, Thor's kind of a lot of funny parts where he's drinking the coffee and he just throws it on the ground. He's just like, yes, I'll have another, because he's like royalty and a god, and he doesn't know that that's bad manners on Midgard. But they try to be a little more dramatic in this one. Thor became more comedy later, but they try to do some scenes in here. Anthony Hopkins, they're like yelling at each other and stuff. It's pretty good. Yeah, the metal monster thing, the design of that is really cool. With the face flame laser thing. No, but this one's really good. I like it. I can watch this over and over. So I'm gonna give it a full price. Not quite masterpiece, really. I mean, but it's really good. All right, we got Captain America: First Avenger. We got another big actor that we forget is even in this, Tommy Lee Jones, and Hugo Weaving playing Red Skull, which it's really cool that he plays this character, and it kind of sucks he didn't want to come back, but then the gig went to the guy that plays Aaron on Walking Dead, and I love Walking Dead, so it's cool. It's like, hey, somebody else got the gig, you know what I mean? So, and he does kind of like an impression of Hugo Weaving, I guess. One thing I don't like or hate this movie for is the fact that it gave us the "I can do this all day." I think they overused that line just a little bit. It feels like they do it in every movie that has Captain America or Peggy. But their chemistry with them two is actually good. I think some of the romances in the MCU are just like, they're fine. Like Tony Stark and Pepper Potts. It's like, I don't know if anybody cares about that, but everybody cares about Peggy and Cap. So, and it's good, like right off the bat. And then, got Bucky. He's going to come back later. But yeah, the whole period piece, World War II thing, I think is great. I mean, especially for Captain America. You always want to see Captain America fighting in World War II. So I think it's a really good one, but not quite full price. I'm going to give it a matinee. But I think it's much better than Iron Man 2 and Incredible Hulk. It's going to go on the left. All right, I think this one, Avengers, this one came out 2012, I believe. It's back when we all thought the world was going to end. But no, I mean, this sort of feels like a classic thing, with it was kind of like an unprecedented thing. I mean, the way that we had all these solo movies and then they kind of came together. I mean, I remember when these were first starting to come out and I saw like online the plan that this was going to happen. I remember being like, 4 years felt like forever, but I was, just out of high school and everything. But it was awesome, seeing this in the theater. And I think the Hulk is probably like one of the best parts of this. Just seeing him like lose his shit, you know what I mean? Like the way the Hulk's supposed to. And then later, he becomes like a comedy thing. But I think this was the best version of Hulk that we've seen. And then at the end, he's kind of like, I'm always angry. So it's like he can control it. And they're like, oh, where's this? And so it leads it off on a cool note. And, Loki's really good villain. Heard a rumor or something like that originally it was going to be Red Skull. And I'm kind of glad they didn't do that. But yeah, just some of the dialogue and the writing, like there's this scene where they're all fighting on the ship and having this argument. And, there's different like arguments that they have. I mean, it's just cool because you've already seen their solo movie and then see how they're going to interact and, take off the suit and what are you? And he's like millionaire, playboy, philanthropist. And there's a quote about sometimes we need a little old fashioned and I always like that quote because it's like, yeah, sometimes you do need to kind of go like back to like Captain America and Superman and Fantastic Four and it be like a hopeful, good thing. Like it's not, we don't always have to be dark and gritty. It's good to be positive. So I think that's kind of what Captain America represents. I always like that part. So, because he does the right thing no matter what, And but anyway, so that's gonna be Avengers is another golden ticket for me, but I will say it's not on the level of the first Iron Man, not quite. All right, so I believe this was the first movie in Phase 2. This is when they really start to come out with some movies that aren't so good. I wouldn't say bad. It's just sort of like skippable, just like a Christmas movie. He meets this little kid that I'm not really a fan of the little kid character. And then I don't really like the way Iron Man's like acting towards the little kid. He's like, why is he being such an asshole? But I guess, at the same time, it's like he's having like the PTSD thing from the fallout of the Avengers movie. And that's some interesting stuff. But yeah, this whole fake Ben Kingsley pretending to be I mean, he played, who did he play? Gandhi or something. So it's kind of like weird. It's a weird thing. It's like that's a different movie, but he's playing a fake terrorist because he's an actor. And that whole thing, I just don't really remember like Guy Pearce, like what the actual villain was. And I don't know. It's like whatever, but it's a rental. It's not bad. It's not offensive, but all right, you got Thor, kind of along the same lines as the Iron Man 3. It's just sort of like, it's fine, but I just forgot that this was even involving Infinity Stone or something, because I remember in seeing Infinity War, and then they went back in time or something. They went back in time to this movie, and I just totally forgot that was a thing. And that just kind of shows you, it's like, it didn't make you feel like this is that important. This villain, the elf guy, like, he looks cool, but I don't remember his name or his motivation. You sort of start to see that there's a kind of a lack of chemistry with Jane and Thor. You know what I mean? It's like, oh, it's starting to show now that this is kind of like, it's okay. And the Loki stuff is interesting. That's Thor and Loki. He's always stabbing Thor in the back. It's like, man, maybe he should have just been the main villain, and I don't know, but it's okay. But not bad, but it's a rental. But I think I like Iron Man 3 better. All right, with Winter Soldier is going to be my hot take right here, but this one's overrated. Star Wars has Rogue One, which I think this is the Rogue One of the MCU, where something about it just doesn't feel as warm to me. Like, it's good. Like, it doesn't feel good to watch. I don't want to watch this over and over. Like, I don't want to watch Rogue One over and over. So, not that that's rewatchability is not the only thing, but I just don't get why people elevate this up into like top 3, top 5 of the MCU. You know what I mean? I'm just like, yeah, it's good, but I don't think it's like a 4 out of 5 or 5 out of 5. To me, this is a matinee. It's really good. You got GSP, George St. Pierre in here fighting. It's a really cool scene. The action is really good. And, but sometimes I'm like, okay, this chase is going on a little too long. You know what I mean? Yeah, it's really interesting stuff though. Bucky coming back, and it's kind of like the way Cap came back. It's like you thought he was gone, and then he's back, and he's a bad guy. And Shield falling apart, and Nick Fury, and all this espionage stuff is really cool. But I just I'll watch it every once in a while. And that's the thing. I have seen all of these movies at least twice, and then on some of them I've seen them 3 or more. So I think, yeah, I've seen this a few times. It's just like, to me, it's just a matinee, But I think it's got a little more intrigue than Iron Man 2 and Hulk. But I like the first Captain America more because the whole period piece thing, and just a better vibe to me. All right, when this one came out, Guardians of the Galaxy, I remember, I was like, I didn't know what this was, but it had a little Marvel logo on there, so I was already signed up for whatever they were going to put out at this point. But I didn't know how if this was gonna even relate back to the other characters. But this is almost as like Star Wars. It's better than Star Wars was, or at least the Disney stuff, because it's got the instant camaraderie, and they're putting together this team of bandits, and they start connecting and it's like funny, like right off the bat, and they start having the chemistry. I think this is better than the Disney Star Wars stuff. I mean, you can't help but see the similarities, but a lot of good music, needle drops in this. James Gunn, there's a whole concept with all these movies, because he's from Earth, but he has a little tape with him and has all these songs on it, but the villain, Ronan the Accuser, design is really cool. He looks really scary. And you see Thanos for the first time, not just a little post-credit thing, but he's actually got like some dialogue and stuff like that. So yeah, I think this is one of the best movies in the whole thing. So Golden Ticket Award, but not quite up there with the Avengers and Iron Man All right, Avengers: Age of Ultron. It's a pretty good one. It's got this scene that's kind of like a rare kind of a scene where they're all like at this party and they're like joking around and they're all trying to like pick up Thor's hammer, and then Captain America, he moves it like a little bit, and then Thor looks nervous, and this would obviously come back later, pay off later, in a few movies later, but just that type of scene, you didn't really see that as much, and you get to see them kind of hiding out at Hawkeye's house and stuff like that. I like all that stuff, So it's almost like you needed this to be like an in between thing with the whole group of the Avengers, but it just when you zoom out, it's kind of like, oh yeah, it's not quite on the level as those other Avengers movies. Out of the four, it's probably like it's not the worst one. It's not bad, but it is the worst one. And you got like the introduction of Scarlet Witch and Quicksilver, and starts feeling like, well, if they can have them, then why can't they have Magneto? I mean, those are Magneto's kids, but I think these movie studios are kind of dumb. Like, they should have just worked together and made a lot of money together by putting X-Men and all that stuff together. So I don't know, but obviously it's different now. Disney now has all that stuff, but it's just silly. Like, but yeah, like just some cool stuff. Scarlet Witch like whispering stuff to people and making the Hulk flip out, and then it's like, oh, what did she say to him? What did she show to him? And then James Spader doing the Ultron does a good voice acting job. But yeah, I just think it's just a matinee for me. But above Winter Soldier, not as good as first Captain America. All right, I got the first Ant-Man, which is just crazy to think that there's 3 Ant-Man movies. Like, why? I think the hype of the MCU sort of sold a lot of movie tickets over like what the characters were, I think, at a certain time period. Kind of reminds me of wrestling, honestly. So sometimes if they try to make the whole brand bigger than any one star, and that can kind of bite you in the ass if you don't have any of those good characters or storylines, you know what I mean? So I think they're kind of learning from that mistake now, where they, just focus on the characters. Not that Ant-Man is a bad character, but it's just one of those movies that's kind of fillery. Like if you wanted to do like a important run through the MCU, this just would not be on there. But it's some cool stuff, like with his, being able to go really small, and they're fighting on all these toys and stuff. It's a really cool, creative sequences. And then you got this guy, Michael Pena, and these first 2 Ant-Mans, he tells these stories, and it's like, it's really funny because it's his voice, but then other characters will be moving their mouths and stuff like that. So, there's some cool, creative stuff in here, but just, I don't really have any desire to rewatch it. So, it's going to be a rental. Better than Thor: Dark World. Alright, so Captain America Civil War. There's a ton of hype going into this because the trailer showed Spider-Man. I just remember seeing like Spider-Man, his eyes were like changing things. So it's like, oh, does he have like an Iron Man suit? And obviously later on, yes, Iron Man and Spider-Man had a very close storyline. But just the concept of this, the fact that, oh, the good guys are going to fight the good guys, it's just going to sell a lot of tickets just on paper, you know what I mean? But, some really crazy moments, it's like, basically find out that Bucky killed Iron Man's parents, and then Iron Man's like, did you know? And that part is just, whew. But him having to fight Bucky and Cap at the same time is just this iconic part. But, I get that this is sort of rushed a little bit in terms of like how many movies. They hadn't had time to really, really build this up, compared to like the comics. The comics version feels like a bigger deal. This is sort of like, well, let's just do it because there's a comic called Civil War. I mean, it works. It's just, it could have hit like a lot harder. It could have been like an Avengers feel, like how epic those feel, And this is more like a halfway Avengers type of movie. Because, yeah, you don't have Hulk or Thor, But, yeah, just the introduction of Spider-Man, a lot of great moments. I was on Team Iron Man because I think, just sign this stuff, and then if you need to save the world, just do it. Like, I don't get like Captain America's side. Like, they just, you know what I mean? Like, if you just sign this thing, you could just break the law. You know what I mean? But just make them happy. That's where I come from on this, because everybody's like, oh, Team Cap, and it's like, no, that's stupid. Anyways, I'm gonna give this a full price, but I think it's better than Thor. All right, we got a first Doctor Strange. Really like this one. Just the whole aesthetic of it. He's going over to the Kamartage and he's going to learn from these monks and all this stuff. Because I used to do a lot of yoga, and I don't know, just kind of like almost a Star Wars vibe where it's like they're kind of like Jedi. They're like training and all that stuff. Just I like it, and kind of the trippiness, and the ancient one or whatever her name is. She Tilda Swinton. She like makes him go out of body experience, and he just transported all these places, and really dig all that stuff. And just the mythology of this, he's this doctor and his hands get ruined, and he hears of this guy that go to this place called Kamartage and learn these things, and then you find out that guy didn't heal himself. He just uses he like cheats or something. He like, I don't know, but it just all that stuff is really cool. And then you got the ending or the time loop. Dormammu, I've come to bargain, and it's just a funny thing for me. But I watched this a lot. Another one of those actors. It feels like they're a little bit wasted as Mads Mikkelsen, because he's just, he's the villain and kinda, and then he's just, if you're a villain and you get killed off in your first movie, it's like, all right, that's it. But yeah, so I think this is gonna be a full price type of movie. I'll put it above Thor. Okay, so with Guardians Volume 2, this almost reminds me a little bit of Deadpool 2, where it's like almost as good as the first one, it's like, it gets most of the way there, but just not quite on the level. But yeah, all the same good stuff from the first one, the comedy, the music, all the chemistry, and all the interactions between all these characters. But maybe it's a little bit too much on the goofy side. But then you get introduced to Mantis, and then her and Drax get a really funny dynamic. The dude that plays Merle on Walking Dead, he plays Yondu, and you got this really cool storyline with him. He ain't your father, but he'll never be your daddy, or something like that. And because you got Kurt Russell playing Peter Quill's actual dad, and he's like an evil god dude. I mean, he's okay. Maybe if they had somebody better in that role or something, this would be much better. But I just think Kurt Russell, he's okay. He's not bad, but yeah, he's just not quite on the level as the first one, but it's still really good. So I'm gonna give it a full price. But I like first Thor a little better. So then we had the first solo Spider-Man of the MCU, and this one. Really enjoyed this. Had Michael Keaton in here playing the Vulture. And I just thought it was funny. He's like, Michael Keaton's been Batman. He's in that movie called Birdman. And now he's the Vulture. But he's actually kind of a scary villain, because it's like he's the chick that Peter likes. He's her dad. And so it's like they had this tense scene in the car. And he's actually really scary, because if you put yourself in those shoes of being like a high school kid, and you got this like dangerous guy, he's like, I think he says, like, I'll bust you up or something. I'm like, dang. But it's cool how Vulture gets the weapons. It's like the fallout from the first Avengers movie. And he steals them and kind of creates this Vulture suit thing. And then you got Iron Man is a big part of this, and kind of that continuation of the Spider-Man getting introduced in Civil War. And just that he would have this Tony Stark kind of spider suit. But yeah, the Spider-Man and Iron Man's arc I really like just throughout all these movies. So, and then you got his friend Ned, who's like, I want to be the guy in the chair. Like, it's like this movie trope, there's always the guy in the chair that's like hacking into stuff. But yeah, it was just really cool. Like, as an audience, we were finding out, like, okay, what's this world of Spider-Man? What's this going to be like in this new MCU version? And I thought it was really good the way they did it. So it's going to be a full price type of movie. But I think I like watching Thor a little more, but put it in front of Guardians Volume 2. See, a lot of these, MCU movies, they're so consistently kind of, and they're a little samey sometimes, but that's when it gets hard, like in this middle area, because you're like, okay, I don't know, which one would I pick, just greater than or equal to. Some of them are like might as well be the same, in these areas. But all right, before I talk about this one, man, just look at this poster, dude. It's just, and then when you look at it, you kind of see the whole movie in your head too, because it just has such a individual flavor to this movie. It's just really good, like in all this color scheme and everything. But this might be the MCU movie that I've watched the most. This will be like a movie that I think I showed it to my dad. I showed it to my aunt. Like if I was going to show somebody that's not into all this stuff, like I might just show them this because I don't think you really need to know what's going on any of these movies. You could probably just watch any of them because they do a good job of standing on their own. But this is just the most fun to me. It has the best mix of the comedy. It's like comedy action, sci-fi, whatever, and fantasy, because Thor and mythology and everything too. So, but it's just like one of the most fun times I've had in the movie theater. Like, and there's a lot of funny parts. You get Carl Urban. He's just like, oh yeah, I got these machine guns in this place in Midgard called Texas. And he's like, I always think that part is funny. But there's some like drama and there's some dark stuff too. You got Odin and what's her name? Kate Blanchett playing Hela. And there's some like dark stuff too. But really good musical part where Thor kind of has to like learn how to. It's almost like Super Saiyan, level up. And then it's like the Immigrant Song with Led Zeppelin, which is like a played out song, but it's like, dang, I had to admit, I was like, man, that was just like the perfect song to choose right there. But because on paper, I'm like, God, like, I don't want to hear that song, but it's like, nah, like shit, they killed it. But yeah, a big selling point of this was the Hulk in the trailers and stuff. And so I remember, and I wish they would do this more where it's kind of like a big team up type of movie. But yeah, can't say enough good stuff about it. So going in the top tier, and I think out of these it's gonna be my second favorite, up here with the big dogs. Bada boom. Okay, it's another one that I kind of got a little bit of a hot take on. I think this movie is really, really good, but I just don't see all the hype of it. I mean, it's just whenever you watch it start to finish, I don't think that by the end of it it's like paid off in like a perfect, really, really awesome way to where I would put it in like the top tier, the golden ticket tier. You know what I mean? But no, I just love like the lore and the mythology of Wakanda. You got the heart-shaped herb, and you got the Black Panther. It's like passed down, or no, you have to like fight for it, and it's like these tribes and everything. I mean, all that stuff is really cool. It's just interesting. By the end of it, it's like the fight the final like big CGI fight. I just, maybe it's not my favorite, but all the casting is good. You got Michonne from Walking Dead right here, Angela Bassett, and then the two white dudes in this are Smeagol and Bilbo. You got Andy Serkis and that guy, what's his name, Martin Freeman. So no, but all this stuff is really good. Killmonger is a really good character. It's kind of one of those ones that people in the audience are like, Killmonger was right. You can kind of understand where he's coming from. Yeah, just him and Andy Serkis. It's like, oh man, I wish that those characters could have went on longer or more than just one or two movies. So, but yeah, just towards the end, it gets a little bit shiny, loses a little bit of the grittiness, turns into like a big MCU type of thing. So, which, yeah, it's in the MCU. So, but I thought the second Black Panther was a little better than this. So, as far as just sticking to that, I don't know, just nailing the landing, I guess. But still a really good movie, and I'll put it in the full price tier. Boom. It's better than mid. So yeah, around this time when Black Panther and Infinity War were coming out, I mean, this is like, I think, the peak of the hype on all this stuff. Infinity War, this is Thanos' movie. He's the main character, and it might be my favorite MCU character. And I think if you're looking at like all movies, he might be like one of the best. He's probably my second favorite like CGI character next to Gollum. We're just talking about Andy Serkis, but just as far as like you watch it and you're not thinking about that it's a CGI thing. Not like it looks very believable, but it's just the combination of the acting and the digital artists and whatever. Like it's just, and the writing and the story and everything. So when you watch the character, you just that's the character. You don't think about it. And so I think Thanos is one of those type of things. Really felt like a big crossover, because Guardians of the Galaxy are meeting Iron Man and Spider-Man and all those guys, and she's like, I like your plan, but it sucks, and so we should just do my plan. And it's like Iron Man's just getting like, he's not the comic relief. He's playing the straight man. He's not the comic relief in that situation because the Guardians are just so goofy. But this final battle, like in Wakanda, kind of has like the heavy Phantom Menace vibe. I've seen people show it online how they're similar. But I mean, it's a cool movie because the bad guy wins. We don't get that a lot in the MCU. It's like the bad guy always gets killed off, and at the end. So yeah, there's a lot of cool like side quests in this. You got Thor like going over there having to make a new kind of Thanos killing type of weapon because Mjolnir got jacked up by Kate Blanchett, and he's over there and he meets Peter Dinklage, but Peter Dinklage is a giant person, but he's a little person in real life. So there's just a lot of cool side quests, and yeah, it's just cool like Doctor Strange and all these characters meeting. And I remember people were crying in the theater. I was sitting next to these girls, and it was like every time somebody would, turn into dust, they would say the name. They'd be like, oh no, like Black Panther. Oh no, like Spider-Man. And when Spider-Man dies, and it's like everybody's crying in the theater. And it was like, and then when the credits rolled, it was like sad, and like there was black. Like usually it's like these big like poppy kind of credits sequence, and it was like, oh shit, this felt like, holy crap, the bad guy won, dude. So, yeah. Top of the tiers. Yeah, I'm going to put it above the first Guardians. But kind of like the other original Avengers better. So, all right. So I remember this period was after Infinity War and before Endgame. Kind of felt like, I just didn't really care to watch these. I didn't watch these movies till later, like at home. But, yeah, Ant-Man, I was like, why is Ant-Man even getting sequels? But, it's another forgettable villain. Hey, you got Lawrence Fishburne here. Like, did anybody remember that Lawrence Fishburne is in this? It's like, again, he's not wasted. He does a good job. It's a good movie, but it's like, dang, he could have been like, I don't know, a big character that comes back a lot. Because it's like you talk about Morpheus, man. And I just don't know if these big castings like sold more tickets for whatever that movie was, because like I was saying earlier, it was the brand of Marvel that was selling these tickets. Like, because Captain Marvel came around this time too, and that made like $1 billion. But I think it's because of the hype of like Marvel and Infinity War and all that stuff. So, it's Lawrence Fishburne and Tommy Lee Jones and a lot of these guys like Hugo Weaving. Are they selling more tickets for the movie, or is it just like, hey, we have this much money, so we are just going to get the best of the best? I don't know, but it's like maybe somebody else could have played it, and like somebody that's just starting out and give them a gig. But, who knows why they do this stuff like that. It's cool seeing like, the backstory of Michelle Pfeiffer, Janet Van Dyne. I think that's her name. And then, the old Ant-Man. And I've read this comic called The Ultimates. So it's almost like in my brain, I kind of want the Ant-Man to be those characters, like the older characters, Hank Pym and Janet. And so maybe like in the future they could just switch it to that. It's okay for what it is. It's just I'm not gonna necessarily revisit this one. So it's gonna be a rental, a little better than Thor: The Dark World. All right, so yeah, like I was saying, this period I wasn't motivated to go see Captain Marvel in the theater, and then even at home it took me a few tries to like finish this movie, because it just feels like because we've seen so many of these solo MCU character type of movies, it just felt like, okay, it's just another one of those by the number kind of things. And I just don't know if there's a lot with the Captain Marvel Brie Larson like performance that's really, she's not really killing it to me in this movie. But it's better, I think, a lot better. The character is a lot better in the sequel to this, the Marvels. But yeah, it's solid. It's just nothing to write home about, really. I do like the 90s period piece aspect of it. It's cool to see like a younger Nick Fury, and just the fact that these would be like events that were happening before, the events of like the first Iron Man. Because I was I was a kid in the 90s, so it's like it's cool for that reason, but it's just it's alright. We'll give it a rental. Probably watch it before I'd watch Ant-Man 2. So alright, this is where they probably should have ended this whole thing. No, I mean, it's called Endgame, right? But no, some of the best moments in the whole MCU are in this. I mean, you got, because of all the work that they put into all these movies leading up to this, it's gonna make it more impactful, especially that first time I saw this in the theater. I mean, just insanity of like how everybody's reacting, and they set up this thing in Ultron where like Captain America moved Mjolnir a little bit, Thor's hammer, and in this one he actually catches it and uses it, and it's like, oh, because he's worthy, So I mean, the theater just exploded, and just moments like that were just crazy, and it's gonna be really rewatchable for that reason, because if you've seen everything in your head, you just have it there in your memory, and so then you could just skip forward and just watch this and get that payoff like over and over. But I kind of think that's why I sort of like Infinity War more, because it's like, it's kind of like the Empire Strikes Back Star Wars thing. It's like the bad guys win, and it's like it's a little more interesting to me than this one. I think this one is like a top of the line MCU movie, but I think it's just a teeny bit like with the goofiness of the time travel, and everything's very convenient. And the one little thing I don't like is, and these are all little things because this is a really good movie, but the fact that this is kind of a different Thanos than the Infinity War Thanos, because it's like they kill that guy at the beginning of this, and then they're dealing with another Thanos from the past or whatever. So, and he's a little bit more cold, and he's like, I'm just gonna destroy everything. And so it isn't going to be in my top tier, but I just I know a lot of people probably this is like their favorite one maybe, but for me it's like there's a several that I like more than this, but that doesn't mean it's not a golden ticket. All right, so then we had our second solo Spider-Man movie. So even with Tony Stark being gone, still a big part of this storyline, because he inherits this glasses and technology from him, and because apparently this Peter Parker is really smart. I mean, I kind of like that's the one aspect that I feel like they don't show as well, maybe. That Peter Parker's supposed to be this like nerd genius kid, but we have Jake Gyllenhaal in here playing Mysterio, and he's talking about like he's from a different universe. So it's the first kind of mention of the multiverse that we get, and it's a little disappointing that he's actually not from a different universe. He's pretending, and he's like a magic illusion type of thing. But gonna get the continuation of MJ and Ned and Peter, and then you got Happy John Favreau playing Happy Hogan. Feels like a fake name, but no, with him and the kids, and they're on this like field trip, and it's just kind of comedy stuff with that. And then some of these effects that Mysterio does are really cool, like with the illusions, and you got these elemental monster things, and and the ending sequence and all that stuff is really cool. All these Spider-Man movies are really good, so I'm gonna put it in the full price tier, but on the lower end of full price. Okay, this movie makes no sense. Like, why did they release this after the Black Widow character's already died? And then this is like takes place after Civil War or something like that. It's like, and it's really hard to like detach that from this movie for me, like, because I just felt like, why'd they even make this? And it's kind of hard to forget about that. I mean, I know when you go on like Disney Plus, you could watch like chronological order, but it just doesn't make sense, why this is even a thing. I mean, it's just good parts of it. You got David Harbour playing Red the Guardian, he's really funny, and Florence Pugh playing Yelena, and her Russian accent is kind of bad, but it's kind of good, like, in a way. But it's I saw this in the 4DX theater, which is like the seat moves around, and then they might like spray like water or vapor. And I remember like the first 15 minutes of this movie, I was just laughing, like, because I didn't realize that that's what we had signed up for. I thought it was like 4D or like 3D or something. And then, but by the end of it, I was kind of over it. I was like, man, this is just like moving around a little bit too much. And even just visually, like I've watched this again at home, but the action towards the end is just getting a little like, okay, like these aren't really like superhuman people like to be doing all this stuff. And they're like flying through the sky and doing all this crazy stuff. And it just gets a little crazy, but, I just think it's just a rental, and it's just hard to think of it as being, something that happened after Civil War, because they released it like much later after Black Widow already kicked the bucket. So all that being said, though, probably would rather watch this than Captain Marvel. And why wasn't, if we're talking about, whoever got the first female MCU movie, solo female character MCU movie, it should have been Black Widow, not Captain Marvel, because Black Widow has already been in all these movies, like going back to Iron Man 2. So yeah, that whole thing is just weird. So yeah, I guess this whole that's what I'm saying. It's like phase 4 or something like that. And so I guess this was why wasn't it out in phase 2 or whenever it happened? But anyway, beating a dead horse. And this is another phase 4 movie, Shang-Chi. It was really cool to see this, just like a Chinese martial arts kind of movie in the MCU. It's like something different, because some of these feel a little samey. There's a lot of cool fight scenes. I mean, there's where he's on the side of the building and all these rafters, and just kind of like that Jackie Chan vibe, where like it's almost like the parkour and the jumping around is like part of the fight, and fighting on this bus. And that whole part is just really good. You got Aquafina in here, who's I think she's funny. I mean, she's got that raspy voice. She's always funny to me. And the funny part where he changed his name because he's from this crazy like crime family, and he's like Shang-Chi, and then now his name is Sean. She's making fun of him for that. It's like kind of reminds me of Star Wars when he's like, oh, Obi-Wan Kenobi. I'm just going to change my name to Old Ben Kenobi and not change my last name. And it's sort of a similar funny part. But yeah, by the end of this, it's just a little bit like, I feel like the whole lore and the gods and all the realms of the MCU starts to get a little crazy at during this period, because it's like, okay, we got this realm that this dragon thing's trying to come out of, and then you got Moon Knight has his own afterlife, and then Thor, they have Valhalla, and it's like whose jurisdiction is what and everything like that. So that's why towards the end of this, I'm like, I mean, it's cool, like at the end, I guess he does meet with the Avengers or something like that, but it's like, but then we still haven't seen him, so this could have been like a phase 1 thing where you're building up some new characters, because like in phase 1 we had all these guys and then they met up like shortly after, or like Iron Man got a second movie, and then Thor got a second movie, and so, but this not happening with the Shang-Chi, and then later on we got like Eternals and stuff like that. We just still haven't followed up on it. It's been like 4 or 5 years or something. So kind of takes a little bit of points off for that reason, because it kind of feels like, hey, you could just skip it. We don't know if he's ever going to come back. So, but yeah, I'm going to give it a matinee. Boom. Okay, then we got Eternals. Yeah, another phase 4 one that just feels like, okay, are they ever going to follow up on this? And this again with the lore, it's like, okay, now we got these Eternals and these Celestials, and how does that factor into Asgard and Moon Knight and all these things, but okay, they're robots, I guess, maybe they're not gods, I don't know. This one it feels a little long, kind of drags on a little bit. I mean, I like the design of all these characters and all like the kind of like the technology and the visually, I mean, this is a really cool, nice to look at movie, but yeah, it just doesn't feel connected to the MCU at all. It just feels like a random team up superhero team. And you just don't get connected to all the characters like you would like in a Guardians of the Galaxy. They instantly get you connected with that. And they really want you to care about, I think, Icarus, or this main guy kind of looks like Superman, and then Cersei. And they really want you to care about those two characters. And their faces are on screen like a lot. And then I just don't care about those two characters. And then it's just like, who's the bad guy? Is it the deviant things? Is it the Arisham, the judge? Is it, or whatever? I don't know. It's just, because it feels so disconnected, it doesn't make you care, because you're going like, well, how does this even, and they're like, oh, well, they didn't help with Thanos because of, it didn't involve deviants and whatever. It's like, okay. But But yeah, just all the whole lore of the whole MCU is just getting a little heavy at this point. It's like, all right, like, so I'm gonna give it a rental. Just don't really, not very rewatchable in my opinion. But just like on a filmmaking standpoint, I mean, it is like obviously like a really beautifully shot type of thing. So I probably would choose that over something like Captain Marvel, just to just check it out again, but not in a big hurry. All right, we got the Spider-Man trilogy. I mean, I guess there's gonna be more now, but this is the third one. Big epic movie, multiverse movie. I mean, it's been a few years now, but we got all these different Spider-Man in here. We got all these different from these movies that were not connected at all. And to me, that basically says, oh, this is the multiverse. So this guy was Peter Parker, and they all kind of team up in this. And it's like whatever problems this movie does have, it's like you can never like forget like seeing that in the theater. Because I managed to not be spoiled about this. I mean, I guess in my head, I'm like, okay, maybe there's going to be the other Spider-Man. But I didn't hear it confirmed or, I kind of kept it to myself. I was like, I'm not going to go online. I'm not going to do this. So when you finally see like Tobey Maguire, and because that's the Spider-Man I grew up on, it was crazy. And, theaters just like reacting but not in an annoying way. It's not like people are talking, it's more just like, whoa, just like clapping. And I almost feel like they edited the movie to leave space for that, because there's like the Daredevil is in this. He's like Peter's lawyer, right? And he's like, he catches a brick or something like that. And then it's like, there's like a little pause there. So you kind of notice it when you watch it at home. You're like, oh yeah, they probably knew that people were going to cheer and stuff like that. But it's cool seeing like Doctor Strange and Peter, like their follow-up of their relationship from Infinity War. Green Goblin's in here. Willem Dafoe, he always comes in and makes every movie better. So he was awesome. You got Alfred Molina. All these guys came back for this. So, it's a little contrived because Spider-Man has like the Iron Man thing where you could just make any thing. And they're like, oh, we're going to work on these cures for these guys. And it's like, all right, like you just got to go with it. But, all that being said, I think it is still a golden ticket type of movie. So I'm going to put it above Endgame because, just seeing those Spider-Men, plural, I guess, super cool. I mean, the Tobey Maguire, Sam Raimi, I mean, that's my stuff right there. So it's just the fact that he's in the MCU. Got to put that up here in the golden tier. All right, we got Multiverse of Madness, Doctor Strange. I watched this one several times since it came out. This is right up my alley. And like I was saying about Sam Raimi, he directed this. And I love his stuff with Spider-Man, but I also love Evil Dead. And this movie kind of feels like a perfect mixture of like Evil Dead and Spider-Man, or Sam Raimi Spider-Man. Yeah, it's just right up my alley. I feel like it's really marketed towards me because it got a lot of horror kind of things, little callbacks, little Evil Dead things, a lot of cool stuff like that. And I think it's cool that they introduced the Illuminati group. You got X-Men character, Professor X, and they played a little theme. And that was part of the whole marketing of this. Reed Richards and Captain Britain, whatever. I don't know what they were calling her, but they introduced you all these cool things, but they're just cameos. They're just there to get taken out by a Scarlet Witch right here, and kind of brutally too. I mean, it's almost like a hard PG-13. And I just like that she just takes all those people out and just like, oh yeah, it's like a wrestling thing where they're getting ready to do something cool and then they don't. And then the villain takes it away, and it's kind of like, yeah, if you're mad at that, then that was the point. You're not supposed to like her. She's a bad guy. So, but yeah, I was very mad at her for killing Professor X. I was like, oh. But yeah, so metal. A lot of this stuff. He dream walks and into another universe. He's basically like walking around as a like a zombie Doctor Strange, and has all these demons. He makes like these scary like black wings out of it. But yeah, just some little stuff that's not as great. Like, I don't really buy the whole him and Rachel. What's her name? Rachel McAdams. I don't know what her name. But anyway, it's just like, like who cares about that part? You just leave that out of it. But you got Wong in here, like, focus your minds, But I don't know. It's just so many parts that I like in this. So I'm gonna put it in my top tier right here. Top tier right here. But yeah, it's got some little problems, but I personally like it. So it's my list. So far, I haven't put any movies in my lowest tier because I was saving up some room for the ones that I really, really don't like. And this is going to be the bottom of the list right here. Thor Love and Thunder. It's probably my fault for, like, you know, managing expectations and everything, but Thor Ragnarok was such a good mixture of the comedy with the action, with the drama, with all the stuff that, and I'm like, oh, it's the same director, yada, yada, yada. And this is just, it went way too hard on the goofy. And they did these like little jokes that would come back over and over. And it's like, it wasn't funny the first time. Now we're doing it 4 times. There's just so much Guns N' Roses in this movie. Like, how many, like, multiple, like, different songs? Like, why? Who can? I don't know. I'm just, And the worst thing that this movie does is waste Christian Bale as a just, you know, another MCU villain that you just kill in the first movie. And because this type of villain, Gore the God Butcher, I think that could be like an Avengers movie guy, like really build it up. But also he's just a really good actor, and he's played like Dick Cheney, and he's played Batman, and he's played all these things, and I think Christian Bale's performance is good, but then it's sort of like we just don't really see him like annihilating all these gods and causing a ruckus, and he's just kind of like, he just like kidnaps some kids or something, and it's just like, what? And this chick, you know, Jane Foster, she's got cancer, and it's like it's flip-flopping between these like really scary real things, and then it'll go into these really goofy things. Yeah, just the axe is like jealous of the hammer, and that keeps coming back over and over. These goats that are screaming, and they just keep showing that. And, you know, just Christian Bale, like, he's really cool like in the beginning of this movie, but then it's just like, yeah, it just doesn't come together. I mean, Russell Crowe's in this. He plays Zeus, and I guess he's funny, but yeah. So this is watch at your own risk, just because of the expectation of like how good this kind of should have been, you know. Yeah. Okie dokie. I don't know if a lot of people feel this way, but I think this movie is an improvement on the first one. I don't know. Just I think this really just nails it like all the way through to the end. You know, I think that first one, just first half of it is a lot better. I think this one, the whole thing is good to me. But just the opening, I've never seen this, and the opening with the Marvel logo, they make it like purple, and they just show clips of Chadwick Boseman, because he actually, the actor, passed away in real life. It was very emotional seeing this, and then they have a sequence in a movie where they show like a funeral for T'Challa, Black Panther. It's like you feel the real emotions of the real life. I just think this really punches hard. You know, it really goes hard with that emotional aspect of it. But also you got Namor, from Atlantis, and they kind of changed his look up a little bit and made him kind of into a Aztec type of thing. I just think the execution of that is really good, you know, when they're down there. It's like better than what DC was doing with Aquaman, you know, because they go underwater and it's not like this bright, shiny thing. It's like murky, you can't quite see, but just their whole culture and the backstory of him. And he was like, I was a mutant, you know, and they're saying mutant. They're starting to slowly get us used to X-Men and mutants and stuff like that. But he tells them, like, you know, I got more soldiers than you got blades of grass. And you're like, oosh. I guess because they're trying to find the vibranium, which only Wakanda has. But I guess the Atlantis, these people, they have the vibranium as well. But the Atlanteans, they really feel dangerous. I don't even know if they call them Atlanta or Atlanteans. I don't know, but you know, yeah, you got Michonne from Walking Dead over here. She's saying she got some more like comedy stuff in this one, and then M'Baku. Honestly, I kind of wish he was the Black Panther. You know what I mean? I think this Shuri, she's pretty good. And then at the end of this, there's like a little boy named T'Challa, like I guess T'Challa's son, and I guess some kind of multiverse time travel thing. He's probably gonna become Black Panther, but I mean, I'm hoping she's just kind of like a temporary Black Panther. No offense, but no, I just think this is all really good stuff. Just Namor. I mean, I know there's like allegations about the actor. I'm like, dang, because like I thought that was he's a good villain, and I could see him. Like especially now they're gonna have a Fantastic Four movie. We could see him trying to flirt with Sue Storm or something like that. I don't know. I think they could do a lot with that. But so yeah, I'm gonna give this one a full price, but I'm gonna put it up pretty high because I'm still kind of feeling the hype of this with Namor and all that kind of stuff. So I really hope they keep doing stuff with that. But yeah, speaking of allegations, we got this guy, Jonathan Majors. So this character, Dr. Kang, Dr. Kang, no, Dr. Doom. Now they're doing Dr. Doom, but this was Kang the Conqueror, and now they did a total detour on this because he has some allegations on him, and we're not going to get into all that. But I mean, really, when you watch this movie, Jonathan Majors is like the only good part of this because he does come across pretty scary. I mean, and then I just remember whatever year this was, it was like he had Rocky or Creed 3, and it was like, dang, this guy's about to be like a big time star, or he already is. But just the whole premise of this is just kind of dumb. It's like, and again with the realms and the things, and it's like I just feel like none of this is consequential, because it's like this Kang dude is supposed to be like the new Thanos, but then he just Ant-Man beats him. It's like, okay. And kind of like the Thor Love and Thunder thing where it's like, it's just way too much of the goofiness. Like there's this jelly guy and he's like, oh, my hole, he's got holes, I've got holes, and it's like kind of like a dirty joke thing. It's just like, it's just dumb, dude. And then it feels like they're in all these places where it's like, it feels like low rent Star Wars, and it is Disney that owns both of them. So it's like they just have some costumes laying around, and they're like, "Oh, just use that in the Ant-Man movie." It's like, and the MODOK dude, they don't show him on here, but he sucks. He looks dumb. I mean, towards the end of this, it's like Ant-Man gets scared of like Kang returning, and I remember watching that Loki TV show, and thinking like, okay, maybe this is gonna go somewhere. But just with the retrospect of like, we now know that they're doing Doctor Doom and they're not doing any of this, it kind of just sours the whole thing, and it's just like, yeah, this is going to be another watch at your own risk. But I think I like it slightly more than Thor Love and Thunder because that one was just a big disappointment. So, all right, we got Guardians 3 is the final. Again, they may make more of these, but this is the end of the trilogy, the James Gunn trilogy. So, and James Gunn's over working at DC now, so if they make another one of these, it'd probably be like a different director. But I think this is the best Guardians of the Galaxy movie. Just has the most emotional punch to it. The whole time it's been Peter Quill has been like the main character, and now it's kind of, we realize it's Rocky Raccoon or Rocket. He's the main character in this, and they show a lot of like these flashbacks and just his terrible treatment that he received from this guy, the High Evolutionary, this character that is kind of a rare thing in these Marvel movies where it's like a really hateable villain, because sometimes it's like Killmonger or Thanos and you're like, okay, I kind of see where they come from or whatever, and then you got these other ones that are just kind of boring and you're like, whatever, like I know the good guy's gonna win. So yeah, this dude I really hate. And I think if you watch this movie, you know what I'm talking about, because this guy sucks. He's like experimenting on these animals, and he's just very cruel. And it's almost one of those things that's like, it's PG-13, but it's pretty rough. Like, and especially if you care about animals, and if you're going to react emotionally to that thing, which I did. I mean, I remember when this thing started, and they start singing Radiohead "Creep," which I think that song is overplayed. I don't really like it. But then it's like, I was already starting to get a little misty. The whole theater was crying on this movie like multiple times just because of the weight of this stuff. But yeah, just seeing this on opening weekend, it's like, man, I can never forget that. Just how the whole theater was wrapped up in this. But it also still has the great comedy like we know from Guardians. But, and Rocket's always getting called these different things. And he's like, Thor calls him Robert. And they all call him all these different animals. And then in this one, he finds out that he's a raccoon, and he sees all these little raccoons. There's so many moments like that where it's just like, wow. But yeah, I think this is just one of the better like movies in general of this whole franchise. And I think, yeah, this is the best like trilogy or just franchise within this franchise, I think, is the Guardians of the Galaxy. It's going to go pretty close to the top of my list in the golden ticket arena. And I think I'm going to put it in third place up here. It's just that good, you know. For it to be able to like pull those emotions out of you, you know, I think that's really got to give it props for that. All right, so the Marvels, I think, is a little overhated. I think it really benefits if you watch the Ms. Marvel show, which is this chick right here, Iman Vellani. It's kind of like a Spider-Man feeling type of thing because it's like high school, you know, kind of superhero thing. But if you watch that and then you watch this, I think this makes it a lot better because her family is like really funny and that whole dynamic is really good. And I think it's one of the best parts of this movie. And also I think Captain Marvel, you know, Brie Larson, her performance and her characterization is like a lot better in this one. It's just like a lot more fun to be had with this versus the first Captain Marvel. And they got this thing going on with the three of them. All their powers are like messing each other up, and so they have to train. It's like a training montage, which I always like training montages, you know. So, and then later on when they are using all their abilities together like that, I think it's really good. And you know, Samuel L. Jackson is Nick Fury. He's always good. You got these crazy like cats that can just eat people or something. You know, there's some stuff that's, you know, it's not for me. Like they go to this planet where they're like kind of like singing every line of dialogue, and it's like a kind of like Disney princess type of thing. But hey, it is Disney making this, so it's like. But to me, that's not like anything that's gonna take off a bunch of points, really. But they got the cool post-credit scene, continuing to hint at like X-Men are coming. Yeah, it's just like a solid kind of matinee type of movie. So it's probably gonna be in the mid of the mid. I feel like nowadays, like people say mid and they think it means bad, and it's like no, middle. It's like the middle of two extremes, but it's almost more insulting to say like, oh, that was mid, you know, like. But no, it just means it's like it's pretty good. All right, so we got the final movie before next week when I go see the new Captain America. But we got Deadpool, Wolverine. I gave this a golden ticket when it came out, and it was on my top 5 of the year video. So, you know, expected some crazy multiverse stuff, and that's exactly what we got. We got all these cameos, which I thought Blade was the best because Wesley Snipes, you know, back in 1998, he started this whole thing off. He's the real Marvel OG. You know, you got Gambit in here. It kind of became a meme and stuff like that. I'm like, I hope in the future that if they do Gambit, they'll get away from this more joke. I mean, he could be funny, but taken a little more serious, if that makes sense. Fight choreography is really good. Comedy's always good. You know, Hugh Jackman come back. I feel like this is another wrestling reference, but it's like people always complain like about like the old. You know, he's not that old, but like the legends coming back, and people always complain. But then it's kind of like, man, you know, you like it. You know, it's like, you know, it's cool that like Wolverine came back. You know what I mean? And they even joke about it. It's like, oh, you're gonna play until you're 90. So yeah, so I'm gonna put this in my top tier, the golden ticket. But I'm gonna put it at the bottom of the golden ticket tier because I think I like Multiverse of Madness. I'll probably watch that way more, you know. That's my tier list. I believe this was 34 movies so far in the MCU. So this is my ranking. We got first place, we got the original Iron Man. I feel like you just can't beat that movie. It's got no fat on it. Perfect movie. And then we got Thor Love and Thunder is my last place because it's such an epic disappointment and they wasted Christian Bale. It sucks. So let me know in the comments what's your top 5 or if you want to rank all of them. And I'm in the middle of watching the DCEU movies. This one I felt like I could do it off the top of my head because I have seen a lot of these like 2 or 3 times at least. So I feel like I know what I'm talking about. But I'm working on DCEU, and then I'm also working on Hammer Frankenstein movies with Christopher Lee played Frankenstein's monster and Peter Cushing and stuff like that. So I want to get a little more do some more niche type of things like that. Maybe I'll watch like Ip Man or, do some little nichey things. But then I'll keep doing these ones that are a little more bigger type stuff too. It's all for fun anyways. And leave me a like, leave me a subscribe, smash the subscribe button. And I guess we'll see you next time. That's it.